Okay, welcome back to Trench Rat Customs. This is a breakdown of where I'm at right now with the Frankenstein high point project. I'm thinking I'm going to call it the Commie Tommy because it has a Tommy grip, and someone called it that online, and I thought it was a funny name. So basically, what you have is you have your high point barreled action. The only thing that's been modified on this is the holes were drilled out to 1/4 inch so I could use normal bolts. And then the barrel was just ground down a little bit to fit where I need it at the end of the cover. So this barrel will get sanded down better and cleaned up and stuff. So here is the cover. So it's a pps52 cover welded to a high point cover that is welded to a piece of a high point cover. It uses the pps52 rear sight. The brownish stuff on here is just spot glazing putty, just to get the little imperfections on the welds. So then when I sand it, final sand everything for paint, it looks nice and smooth. So it's the high point action. The high point cover here, you can see where the second cover meets in and then where it welds to that. And then it's a piece of square stock that I hooked, or I'm sorry, that I welded onto here, and then use a drill to put holes in it, and then it uses the pps52 factory sight. But I had to cut off the end piece so I could drill the hole out in where the barrel goes through bigger, and then I had to weld that back on. The spot putty looks thick, but once it's sanded down and stuff, you'll see that it's really just to fill in some of the holes. That's all welded together and stuff. So then right here you have the frame. So it's a pps52 frame, which usually on these, the mag well is all the way up here. So I cut the mag well off. I moved the mag well back to where it fits with the high point action. I'm going to turn it this way so you can see it better. Sorry. So the welds need cleaned up in here. My God, I'm struggling. I'm sorry. So the welds need cleaned up in here, but you can see this is where the Tommy gun grip bolts into. The front is for a QD sling mount. This is where the front receiver or the front bolts hook to. That's where the rear bolts. I had to weld this while it was all in place inside of it, so I got to come in with a Dremel and fix all that. But you can see it still retains the factory pin that locks the stock in place back here, and spring assembly. And then when you look here, here's your trigger. The trigger assembly is just, first I tried doing it where it was a swinging assembly, like a normal trigger where it's hinged on a pin, but I couldn't get enough travel with it. So I ended up remaking it as a flat trigger, and it's just underneath this bar and it slides like this. And the nice thing about that is if you take the stock off and put it back on, you just pull the trigger and it pops the lock back into place and locks everything together. But it's a smooth trigger, and it's not greased, and you can see there's a lot of welding spatter in there that I need to Dremel out just to clean up and stuff. So with the spot putty and all that, once this is cleaned up, it's going to look really nice. This is my trigger linkage. So I'm going to show you how this assembly goes. So that sits. All right, I got to try to hold this. Maybe if I can do it like this. Put this right here. So the high point action sits here. The trigger linkage slides into the hole that's already in the trigger. And then when you come down here, you can see that I have a little piece that it just hooks into. And then drops into place. It's hard to do with one hand because I have to make sure the trigger linkage is out of the way. So I'm actually going to assemble this without the trigger linkage, just so you can see it a little better. The trigger linkage is actually really easy to put in, but it's just a pain because of how that is. So this drops in. I'm trying not to get the spot putty on my hands. So this just drops in, I don't want to get spot putty on my hand, so I'm just going to show you like this. This drops, there we go. That drops in like that, and then the bolt holes line up. And then all you do is you take your cover, take this whole assembly, you slide the barrel into the end, and you push it up a little further. Make sure the barrel's lined up in here. Okay, the barrel's in. Then you just slide the whole cover down. Then you push it, and then it locks into place. It's extremely hard with one hand, and I'm trying to hold this, but this is how it looks without the grip on it. Once I get the Tommy gun grip on it, it looks like a completely different gun, but it actually is awesome to hold. Your hand goes right on here on the hand guard. It's very comfortable to hold. And one problem that I always hated with factory high points is I've put a lot of rounds through mine. My one high point I've put, or the high Puzi, I've put like 800 rounds in like less than an hour and a half through that thing. On the bottom there's a little lug that usually has a little piece, a bracket that slides in and locks into the stock. Mine would get so hot you couldn't touch them. And that is a problem I have with the high Puzi. When I shoot a lot, you can't even hold the gun because it burns your hand. It gets so hot. So this I'm going to have like an insulated piece that goes inside of here. So that'll hold it together. Let me pop this whole thing apart quick. Comes apart pretty easy. And then I'm actually going to put a tiny cleaning kit up front here because this whole thing's a hollow a void. As you can see here, it's all hollow up in here. This piece right here hits against this lug, and that kind of stops it. It's just kind of like a lug for it to make it a little stronger. So, and it uses pps43/52 mags. The mag goes in like normal, and then it is cut and welded to a high point magazine that fits up inside. Now, I still have some tweaking to do on that. I'm having a little feeding issues right before it gets to the transition between the mags, and I'm not really sure why. So I'm still tweaking it. I can get it to feed like 5 or 6 rounds, and then it like really holds up. I can get it to just work by itself for about 15 rounds if I'm just playing with the magazine. But then once you put the 16th round in, the whole thing just kind of locks up. And I'm not really sure why it's doing that. It's a pain in the butt. I'll get it figured out. So this is the high point. And it's going to be pretty awesome when it's done. I'm going to get ready to paint it soon. So once it's all painted, I will make another video, and that'll kind of be a final video before I shoot. So thank you for logging in and watching Trench Rat Customs videos. I would really appreciate it if you can like and share. I'm just trying to grow this page and make more fun stuff and all that. And the support is always nice. Again, you can join our Facebook group at Trench Rat Customs, where obscurity is the norm. Yeah, thank you for everything, and I appreciate the support and the people that have been sticking with me and watching this stuff. And we all have more videos to come. Thank you.